It's an incredible setup here, incredible matchmaking, incredible storytelling. Oh, you had to come here. All these fighters that step in here are warriors, and all have my respect. And I'm into this game, yeah. We'll be into this, yeah.
And we are live here in the Maverick Center here in Salt Lake City, Utah, folks. What a night. It is going to be historic indeed for BKFC 56.
Whoever's the king of violence right here, this is going to be a great fight.
Harry on the top, getting forward, right hand from McCray, double jab. Who's the king of violence? I am!
Combat fighting in its purest form, bare knuckle fighting in the city of angels.
80 seconds remaining.
We've got the biggest announcement in the BKFC history we're about to make, so let's make that announcement.
What's up, Knucklemania? The notorious Conor McGregor here. Ladies and gentlemen, the huge announcement that I have for you today. Conor McGregor, myself, and McGregor Sports and Entertainment is now an owner of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Welcome to the big leagues. David Feldman, baby, we did it.
He's now an owner of BKFC with us, and we're going to take this motherfucking thing.
Happy Thursday, everyone. Welcome into Game Time Decisions here on the grid. I'm Joe Madden. We've got a ton of action today to go over and to talk about games that have already finished. We had day action out there on the Diamonds, and the Yankees came out getting a phenomenal win over the Cleveland Guardians, winning that one 6-0. We also saw the Nationals get a big win over the Rockies, 8-3. St. Louis beating the Brewers 3-0, and the Cubs coming out nice and strong versus the Tigers, putting up 10 runs, winning that one at 10-2. There's action happening right now on the Diamonds with the Tampa Bay Rays down versus the Oakland A's. Oakland is leading this one 3-1. This game is in the top of the ninth right now as the Tampa Bay Rays try to come back in this. There's tons going on later on the Diamonds as well. We know it's Paul Skeens Day, and we're hearing that Paul Skeens is going to see no restrictions for the rest of the seasons from the Pirates, which is phenomenal to hear for him to get those awards out there. Paul Skeens will face the Cincinnati Reds tonight, with Leduto coming out for the Reds. Now, Paul Skeens, you can start looking at his props already, you guys. We know the books have him with a strikeout prop of 7.5, but if he can go deep into this game, I do expect him to do so. He's coming off another strong game where he was able to go 6 innings in his last one out, and I am not concerned about him being able to do the same thing in this matchup tonight versus the Cincinnati Reds. So looking at Paul Skeens over the 7.5 strikeouts will be the first bet of the day for me in this one. I do think it's interesting, though. Nick Leduto here needs a bounce back game. He's had his struggles out there, and I do think he's strong enough to come out in this one and limit the Pirates' bats in the first inning as well. So I'm going to be looking at the Nerfy in that. That's coming in at minus 150. Like I said, there's so much action out there. We know we have the BMW Championship happening right now. So just to update you guys on that, Xander Schauffele is the favorite on FanDuel, coming in at plus 400. We then do have Hideki coming in at plus 500. And of course, Scotty Scheffler at plus 550. So we're going to keep you posted on how that is going today. I know we're going to be talking it further with guests as well, but just that quick update on that. Now, when we go back to preseason football, it is week 3 already, you guys, and we are seeing action happening out there. The Washington Commanders made a trade with their rival, the Eagles, today, and I am blown away by this. Johan Dotson was traded from the Washington Commanders to the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Eagles did need that depth. Jalen Hurts needs another wide receiver over there that he can get the ball to, but this move, I find just mind-blowing what the Washington Commanders were thinking, where the Washington Commanders may be thinking. Jahan Dotson isn't the wide receiver that people expected. He was a first-round pick. Or are they really looking to put another nail in the Cowboys season out there? Because if the Philadelphia Eagles are stronger, we know their biggest competition within their division is the Dallas Cowboys. So Dan Quinn may be making moves like that for a reason. You never know with these head coaches why they're doing something. But I do think this is a win for the Philadelphia Eagles getting Jahan Dotson. I do think he's going to give them that depth they need in the wide receiver position. Now, when we look at what the trade was for, we did see the Philadelphia Eagles get a 5th-round pick from the Washington Commanders as well as Jahan Dotson. And the Washington Commanders in return did get a 3rd-round pick next season from the Philadelphia Eagles. So they are in a rebuild. We know that the Washington Commanders are. I think Dan Quinn is going to do some great moves with his teams. I don't think he is done trading some players out there. We know this is a pivotal time as preseason hits upon us for these coaches to be making those changes, seeing what they've seen in preseason. Now, talking about preseason football, you guys, we've got 2 games tonight, and I don't know about you guys, but I have been absolutely enjoying preseason football. Question marks on who will start in some of these games, and tonight, we know the Indianapolis Colts should be starting some of their starters, at least for the first quarter and a half. Expected here for Anthony Richards to come out for a couple of drives. Now, the Colts versus the Cincinnati Bengals is that game. It's kicking off at 8:01 Eastern. We're seeing the Indianapolis Colts 6.5-point favorite at -115. Now, when we look at that total, it's 34.5 at -105 to the over. I'm hesitant on taking the total in this one. Looking at the Indianapolis Colts, I do think Anthony Richards and company will really be getting this ball moving. And I expect him to make 2 really strong drives down the field, hopefully both of those converting to touchdowns. So when we look at that 14 points, we've got a total of 34.5. How are the Cincinnati Bengals going to come out? We know they've struggled in preseason to be able to put up those points on the board. Can they do their share is my biggest question mark. So if I'm looking to back the Indianapolis Colts tonight, I'm definitely going to look at them in the first quarter. I think laying the 2.5 in the first quarter for the Indianapolis Colts, if you can get it on your book, is such a strong way to go. I also think you look at the first half. I would lay the 4.5 in the first half as well. And I do think this defense coming out nice and strong will limit the Cincinnati Bengals. So I'm going to stay off that total. We know the trend in preseason has been those unders, but when I start looking at the next game, that is where I question if we're going to have the under situation come into play. We got the Chicago Bears looking to have a perfect preseason. They're sitting 3-0 right now, and they're a 2.5-point favorite rolling into Kansas City to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. And yes, the Kansas City Chiefs are the better team, but in this situation here, I don't think with preseason ball, we're going to see the starters out there for either of these teams. And when I look at the depth of the Bears' ability to really get things rolling out there in this preseason, they've been putting up those points. They've been showing their depth in the quarterback role. They've also been showing their depth offensively and defensively. I think this team looks really complete out there. When we look at the Kansas City Chiefs, yes, we're going to see them have some success, but I don't think this game really matters to Andy Reid. I'm looking at this one to be, yes, the Kansas City Chiefs are at home, but we've seen in preseason, home field advantage isn't huge. I'm looking for the Chicago Bears to be able to come out and get it done. Now, this line has moved from a 1.5 to 2.5 as the week has gone on. So I could see if you're hesitant taking the Chicago Bears, laying the 2.5 at -110. You could look at that money line. That money line's coming in at -140. I don't hate the money line. I don't like laying that much juice. So at -2.5 at -110, I think it's a solid way to go. Now, this one has a total of 31.5. And when we look at that total of 31.5, I really do think this is a game that could go over this total. We know looking here at the Bears. We do have kind of a couple quarterbacks that are battling it out for especially that third string role, as it does look like Tyson Bagent will get that second string role here behind Caleb Williams. So I really do think you look at the Bears, you look at their ability to put the points up on the board, and we have the ability to go over that 31.5. So I'm laying the points. I'm going to take the over just for a nice fun sprinkle. If you want to look at the first half to the over, it's completely understandable why you would just roll with that first half. This is where we're seeing the most success. But the thing is with the Chicago Bears in the second half of these games in preseason is where the money has been at. I'm going to be live betting the Chicago Bears if they're down after that first half, most definitely in that second half. I'm going to look for them to have that success in the second half and go over a team total maybe. There's going to be a couple different ways to play it. I will be live later tonight too with Joe Ranieri on In Game Alive. So make sure you check that out. But you guys, we're just coming up against a quick break. We've got so much to go over on tonight's slate. So don't go anywhere. We're going to be breaking down the rest of the MLB card next.
Hello everybody from Arlo White in the Live Broadcast Studio, and welcome to highlights of another excellent day's golf on Super Saturday in Greenbrier. Now, Live Golf history was made by this man, the high flyers Brendan Steele. This is his second shot at the par 5 17th. In it goes, the first albatross in league history, and it's Brendan Steele who is all smiles. Cam Smith teed off at 18 today. He made a par there, then proceeded to card a 27 over the front 9 holes to briefly take the lead. This was his third at 12, an eagle for Cam there, but he was overall level par through his last 8 holes and his 3 off the lead. Brooks Koepka is seeking a 5th Live Golf title. No other man has more than 3. A pair of 64s for Brooks. He's 12 under par. That was his birdie putt at 18. But today was all about Jon Rahm, who is hunting a second straight win in the Live Golf League after his first victory at the JCB in the UK, and he's also hunting down Wako Niemann for the overall title of Live Golf League champion for 2024. A remarkable round of 62 today for Jon Rahm. That was his second into 17. This is his tee shot at 18. And you wouldn't bet against Jon Rahm going back-to-back and taking a lead into the final regular season event in Chicago in 3 weeks' time, seeking a first prize of $18 million. And he rounded things off superbly with a birdie putt at the first, an 8 under par 62 today. Jon Rahm will take a 2-stroke lead into Championship Sunday. Ripper lead the team comp by 1.
Welcome back to Game Time Decisions here on the Grid. Okay, as promised, you guys, we're going to start breaking down this MLB slate. And there's tons of action tonight and some great action out there. Now, we mentioned Paul Skeens is in action. The Pittsburgh Pirates are at home taking on the Cincinnati Reds. Paul Skeens coming in with a strikeout prop of 7.5 tonight. Now, he has hit the over 7.5 strikeouts in his last 3 starts. And I do think it is worth some money looking at Paul Skeens to come out nice and strong tonight. He's got to be excited to know that they're not going to limit him for the rest of the season and that he has every opportunity to come out, show what he's got, and really make this rookie career even stronger than we've already seen it. So I'm high on Paul Skeens tonight. Looking at the Cincinnati Reds, Lodullo coming out here for them now. he's struggled as of late. His ERA over his last 8 starts it's been over 8 in his last 3 starts. Apologies there. And I'm not loving what I've seen out of him, but I do think we're looking here at him coming out strong in the first inning. I do like the Nerfy. I was playing around with the under 3.5 in the first 5 innings as well. It's coming in at -102. You're paying so much juice on that Nerfy. It's because Paul Skeens is matched up against him. But if Lududo can come out and be strong enough in that first inning, we should be able to cash the Nerfy. I'm just a little worried about the first 5. Now, I do think you look here at the Pittsburgh Pirates to be able to get the win with Paul Skeens here, with the struggles we've seen out of the Reds. I think that is the strongest way to go in this game. Again, if you're liking the Pirates, you're going to have to lay some juice on them straight up. They're -148 now. It's moved slightly during the day. It was -142 earlier in the afternoon. Now that total is sitting at 7, at +100 to the under and -122 to the over. I'm hesitant again with this full game total. It's going to depend on if the Pittsburgh Pirates can come out here and hit off of Lududo. He is the factor in this. It's not Paul Skeens. So if you want to look at a Pittsburgh Pirates team total, I don't hate that. I would look at that towards the over more so than the under, and I'd look at the Cincinnati Reds to that under. Now, there will also be a start here with the LA Angels and the Toronto Blue Jays. Kevin, have you got my Toronto Blue Jays circled tonight?
No, Joe, only because you've told me to never circle the Toronto Blue Jays. Let me just say thank you for holding it down as I got nice and settled up here in New Jersey. Burr and Burke, neither starter I think is going to inspire a lot of confidence for bettors in this one. Toronto listed as the favorite here, which speaks to still how bad this LA Angels team has been throughout this season, which is obviously not surprising, losing Ohtani and Mike Trout never healthy. Are you looking to get involved with this game?
Only in the way of looking at some RBIs and some home runs. I think you look here, Toronto's bats have been clicking, and I think you look at George Springer. We know how phenomenal he was a couple of nights ago, and he continues to be able to get those hits. I expect the runs to come out of him. I've got him circled for the RBI and the home run tonight for George Springer, and then Guerrero. I'm going to look at him as well to come out nice and strong, get us that RBI tonight, Kevin.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Vladdy Jr., despite the Blue Jays' struggles, has been at an MVP level now for a little while for the Toronto Blue Jays. You look at his last 30 days, batting .410. I mean, that is absolutely ridiculous. In that stretch, 10 homers, 22 RBI, and he's lost any semblance of lineup protection that he could possibly have, and it's not mattered. He's just continuously been able to get the job done. Let me ask you, Joe, about the late-night Dylan Cease, Luis Severino game. I'm really interested in this spot here because we know how much respect Dylan Cease has gained in the market. Of course, he had the no-hitter. I think he had a 3 or 4 game window where he only allowed, about 2 hits. But you have a Luis Severino who has a high ceiling, and he's coming off of one of his ceiling performances, a complete game shutout of the Miami Marlins. It was a performance he was really due for. You look at the prior 3 starts, 4 earned, and 6 earned. What do you expect from Luis Severino out in San Diego?
I'm struggling to back him to stay long in this game. We saw it last week, and I'm drawing a blank on the pitcher that we saw who came out so strong in his next game out. Maybe it was Valdez. In his next game out, then he saw those struggles, and I think we'll see that with Severino in this one. I'm taking him under the 17.5 outs. I do think we're going to see the San Diego Padres catch him early and then not leave him in this game. Now, Severino under the 17.5 outs is coming in with great plus money at +135. And I know he's coming off that game where he went all 9 innings. He was absolutely phenomenal. But we look at that, and I think he threw 113 pitches, Kevin. I love looking at a pitcher that was so strong to then in the next game come out and have those struggles and not go as deep. You can't use a pitcher's arm that much. And I know the New York Mets know that, and I don't think they'll be willing to leave him out longer than he needs. And I think we'll see him probably start of the 5th be pulled out of this game.
It's one of those things and look, it's probably a good spot if you're the Padres trying to catch Severino off of a game like this. He hasn't had any performances this year where he threw consecutive games without giving up a run. He has had some starts where he's given up, two or less in consecutive starts. But I think it's also just one of those matchups that you put in your back pocket when the playoffs come around. Who knows? Maybe we get a Dylan Cease, Luis Severino game in the postseason. And for the Padres, of course, they're going to feel good with Cease on the mound no matter where that game is. But certainly if they're at home, for the Mets, you need to feel good about Luis Severino when you get into this, if you get into this postseason, right? You looked at this rotation right now, and for a while we grew very accustomed to DeGrom and Noah Syndergaard, right? And then, it was Max Scherzer. Justin Verlander. The Mets have always wanted to have multiple big names that they could throw at anybody. And there were so many years in a row I felt like people would toss the Mets out as it pertains to, and a wild card sleepers. What if that pitching gets into the postseason? You look at it now, and you have Luis Severino, followed by Sean Manaea, followed by Jose Quintana. Again, give this team a lot of credit for being in the race, and Frankie Lindor and his all-star snub continues to look crazier and crazier by the day. But this is one of these games where if Dylan Cease completely outmatches Luis Severino, I'll remember it if we end up talking about these teams with the playoffs. Joe Maddon's going to stick around. She's ripping and roaring, holding us down here on Game Time Decisions. We'll be right back.
Hello everybody from Arlo White in the Live Broadcast Studio, and welcome to highlights of another excellent day's golf on Super Saturday in Greenbrier. Now, Live Golf history was made by this man, the high flyers Brendan Steele. This is his second shot at the par 5 17th. In it goes, the first albatross in league history, and it's Brendan Steele who is all smiles. Cam Smith teed off at 18 today. He made a par there, then proceeded to card a 27 over the front 9 holes to briefly take the lead. This is his third at 12. An eagle for Cam there, but he was overall level par through his last 8 holes and his 3 off the lead. Brooks Koepka is seeking a 5th Live Golf title. No other man has more than 3. A pair of 64s for Brooks. He's 12 under par. That was his birdie putt at 18. But today was all about Jon Rahm, who is hunting a second straight win in the Live Golf League after his first victory at the JCB in the UK, and he's also hunting down Wako Neiman for the overall title of Live Golf League champion for 2024. A remarkable round of 62 today for Jon Rahm. That was his second into 17. This is his tee shot at 18. And you wouldn't bet against Jon Rahm going back-to-back and taking a lead into the final regular season event in Chicago in 3 weeks' time, seeking a first prize of $18 million. And he rounded things off superbly with a birdie putt at the first. An 8 under par 62 today. Jon Rahm will take a 2-stroke lead into Championship Sunday. Ripper lead the team comp by 1.
Back right here on Game Time Decisions. Kevin Walsh with you on this Thursday night. We have Adam Kaplan right around the corner, getting some insight around NFL training camps, 2 NFL preseason games tonight. But listen, I know it's the NFL, and even when it's preseason, it draws. You got 2 really big Major League Baseball games tonight. One of those, Joe, is finishing up a series, so we'll start there in Atlanta with the Braves and the Phils. And for the Atlanta Braves, they win the first game of this series. They drop the second game with a little bit of a comeback victory for Philadelphia. So this will decide it here. It's Schwellenbach against Sanchez. Anything jump out to you?
Yeah, this is going to be a great game. We saw that game last night, just an absolute nail biter with the Phillies being able to get a 3-2 win with that winning run coming, I believe it was the top of the 8th inning. So looking at this matchup here, I am looking for another lower scoring game, Kevin. I think the under 8 is the way you need to play it. Now, Sanchez has been yet to beat the Braves here for his career. He's gone 0-2 against them with a 4.73 ERA. So if you want to look at the Atlanta Braves to be able to come out nice and strong against him, I don't blame you. I do think the value is still on the Braves with them being here at home at minus 112-ish. I'm seeing some of the lines. I would hit on the Braves, but I think you look at another 3-2 style game. I'm expecting those runs to be hard to come by. Schwellenbach here is 4-6 on the season with a 4.04 ERA. Atlanta's just been so strong at home as well. But give me the under in this one. The under has hit in each of the Atlanta Braves last 3 games and 7 of their last 10. I think this is going to be one of those games where unless we go to extra innings, Kevin, which was the risk last night, when they're so late into those games tied up, I think as long as no extras, we go under the total.
Yeah, it's an interesting spot, Joe. There's a part of me that wonders if the overall workload is catching up to Chris Sanchez, and I know that might sound a little silly with him coming off of a game where he went 9 innings, but if you look so far, the longer starts have been followed by tough starts. You go back, he had the last time he threw a complete game, it was against the Miami Marlins. The follow-up was 7 earned runs at Wrigley Field. We saw him go 6 innings against Cleveland after the All-Star break. He gave up 6 earned runs against the New York Yankees, 6 earned runs against the Dodgers. Great start. 7 earned runs against the Arizona Diamondbacks here. The Braves team totals 3.5, which is not too expensive, around minus 125 juice. I'm interested in something like that for this game here tonight, where if Schwellenbach has it, the Braves will control it. But on the other end, if he doesn't have it, maybe the game gets a little weird all in all. Like you said, Joe, though, perhaps an under could still make sense, even if I think maybe the Atlanta offense has a chance to break out tonight. What about Baltimore and Houston? Corbin Burns with the baseball here has Baltimore at home a favorite after they just dropped the series to the New York Mets. Anything jumping out with this one?
Yeah, this is going to be fantastic. 2 of the best teams in the American League here between the Houston Astros and the Baltimore Orioles. Now looking at the pitching matchup, Arigati coming out here, he struggled when he got his starts, but he's actually been a lot stronger as of late. I love his ability to get those strikeouts on the board. And then Corbin Burns, he's been hit hard as of late. I actually look at this. This is such an important 4-game series between these 2 teams. Houston with the value at plus 130, plus 135-ish is where my money has to go. I do think they can get the win here versus Corbin Burns with those struggles that he has had and with how Arigati's really looked a lot stronger as of late. I'm going to take Arigati over the 5.5 strikeouts. That's coming in at plus 100. The Astros on the money line in the first 5, I think probably makes the most sense to me. We've seen the Houston Astros in those last couple of innings in some of their games blow leads there. So I like the first 5. It's coming in at plus 146. And then if you like that first 5 to the under, I don't hate the under 4.5, Kevin. It's coming in at minus 120. I think the run still will be hard. It's Corbin Burns. I don't think Corbin Burns is as bad as he has looked as of late, and I do think he's really going to show up in this game. But I think the Astros can get it done. First 5 is my favorite bet on the Houston Astros on the money line.
Yeah, the one thing that kind of jumps out the page to me, I see Corbin Burns here going tonight against Aaron Getty, and you see kind of the number that Baltimore has next to them. The Orioles are minus 125 to win this series. It's a 4-game set. I kind of look at that as if you think Baltimore can win 2 of the 4, you're free rolling then at minus 125. I'm a little interested in still a number like that, thinking that against the Astros at home, a series the Orioles certainly could use here with the Yankees, still putting some wins on the board. Time will tell, though. Joe Madden again, phenomenal. Thank you. Adam Kaplan's up next.
Hello everybody from Arlo White in the Live Broadcast Studio, and welcome to highlights of another excellent day's golf on Super Saturday in Greenbrier. Now, Live Golf history was made by this man, the high flyers Brendan Steele. This is his second shot at the par 5 17th. In it goes, the first albatross in league history, and it's Brendan Steele who is all smiles. Cam Smith teed off at 18 today. He made a par there, then proceeded to card a 27 over the front 9 holes to briefly take the lead. This is his third at 12. An eagle for Cam there, but he was overall level par through his last 8 holes and his 3 off the lead. Brooks Koepka is seeking a 5th Live Golf title. No other man has more than 3. A pair of 64s for Brooks. He's 12 under par. That was his birdie putt at 18. But today was all about Jon Rahm, who is hunting a second straight win in the Live Golf League after his first victory at the JCB in the UK, and he's also hunting down Wako Neiman for the overall title of Live Golf League champion for 2024. A remarkable round of 62 today for Jon Rahm. That was his second into 17. This is his tee shot at 18. And you wouldn't bet against Jon Rahm going back-to-back and taking a lead into the final regular season event in Chicago in 3 weeks' time, seeking a first prize of $18 million. And he rounded things off superbly with a birdie putt at the first. An 8 under par 62 today. Jon Rahm will take a 2-stroke lead into Championship Sunday. Ripper lead the team comp by 1.
Back with you right here. It's Game Time Decisions. We have 2 NFL games tonight. We're going to talk with NFL insider Adam Kaplan right now. Cap, always good to talk to you here. Final week of preseason is about to get underway.
Yeah, look, we got 2 games tonight. The Colts and Bengals had a joint practice earlier this week. Typically, when you have a joint practice, more often than not, you don't play your starters. It just depends on when when they practice. They practice, I believe, on Tuesday. So they may play a few starters. But, overall, the third preseason week, Kevin, is no longer the week for the dress rehearsal. It's not like that. In fact, a lot of teams will not play their starters this week.
Yeah, it's going to still make for an interesting board if people want to bet it, but certainly in terms of quarterback battles, maybe one more remains. If there's time, we'll get there. But, Cap, I want to start with the trade that broke today in the NFC East. Jahan Dotson moves from the Commanders to the Philadelphia Eagles. Kind of a local situation, went to Penn State. What did you make of that deal? Surprised by it, and any clear winner here?
So in my reporting on this, here's my understanding. So Washington has been looking to move him. They didn't draft him. This group, this front office, this coach staff was not there when Jahan Dotson was drafted in the first round 2 years ago. And it's based on practice performance. He wasn't good enough. And he was available, and the Eagles were in dire need, Kevin, of a number 3 receiver. They didn't know who it would be. Britton Covey, their punt returner, had a great training camp, one of the top 3 punt returners in the National Football League, but he's a smaller guy at 5'8". Dotson could run. He's more of an intermediate receiver, not really what you call a deep threat, but they need him. And by the way, Kellen Moore, Kevin, his offense, talking to coaches who've worked with him before, he wants to run a lot of 11 personnel, the receivers, 1 back, 1 tight end. And to do it, you have to have a third receiver, and that's what Jahan Dotson will do for them. And then with Washington, look for Max McCaffrey to see more playing time. He's Christian's younger brother, who was a draftee out of Rice, who I saw at the Senior Bowl earlier this year. De'Ami Brown, who can run, who's got good size. He'll see more playing time. And kind of the big training camp surprise talking to Washington is Olamide Zaccheaus. You might remember him with the Falcons. He was with the Eagles last season. He's got a real good chance to see some decent playing time in Cliff Kingsbury's offense this season.
So, Cap, I know you're out on the road and you're going to a lot of these training camps. We had a local one with the Jets and the Giants having some joint practices here. Did anything stand out when you were seeing those teams go up against one another?
Kevin, it was a butt-kicking by the Jets on the Giants. And I get it. Look, the Jets, the fans some Giant fans were in, and it was actually a pretty raucous crowd there in Florham Park, New Jersey, yesterday. And Aaron Rodgers is an absolute fire. And by the way, I know people are wondering, is he healthy? He absolutely is healthy. Is my understanding. He looked healthy, threw the ball extremely well. If you're into fantasy, Garrett Wilson will be a first-round pick. Could be a top 5 fantasy pick, particularly in leagues where you have point per reception. He looks phenomenal, and he wants a new contract after the season. He's vying for one. Can't do it until after his third year is played. And with all the deals, Kevin, going way big, 35 million plus is what he'd be looking for next year, and he's phenomenal. And he did very well last year considering issues at quarterback. So they feel good about their offensive line, I could tell you that. And in fact, they have depth now in their offensive line. One of the top 3 defenses, some would argue the best defense in the National Football League. So, Kevin, they are my pick to win the AFC East over Buffalo. I know a lot of people still think the Bills can win it, but I've got issues with the Bills, particularly on defense and their secondary, their pass rush, and receiver core. I mean, they have a lot of questions. The Jets, if Aaron Rodgers is healthy, have way fewer questions.
Yeah, the Rodgers health, though, I know holds a lot of people back. I think people hope that the running game will certainly be able to add some relief with Breece Hall, and that the defense is going to continue to perform at a high level. And Cap, from what I read, you were there, the defense was performing at a high level as well in those practices. I believe they asked Sauce Gardner what he thought about going up against Daniel Jones, and I think he said he had a lot of fun. If is that what you kind of saw out there?
Yeah, look, their defense dominated the Giants' offense, so there's no question about it. The Giants, I'll say this about them, Kevin. I've now seen them twice. I saw them earlier in training camp, earlier in August, when they hosted the Lions for 2 days of joint practice. This is when they fought. The day I was there, that there were 4 fights. But the bottom line is the Giants have more speed on offense. Their offensive line, they've addressed it in a big way because they've had one of the worst offensive lines from a personnel standpoint for years, and now they could compete. But look, they don't have Saquon Barkley. And to me, Daniel Jones needs a running game. I know other teams feel the same way. Devin Singletary, who's coming off a career season at running back for the Texans, he is now the starting running back for the Giants, but he's not explosive. He's not what we would call a drive sustainer. He's okay. He's more of a number 2 back than a number 1. That would worry me a little bit. But if Daniel Jones has had an up-and-down camp, we just have to remember, though, Kevin, he's come off of a major knee injury, which he suffered in early November of last year. That is the concern there. But I want to mention one thing. Speaking of the Giants and Jets, Tyrod Taylor comes over from the Giants to the Jets. The Jets are really happy with Tyrod Taylor as the backup because last year they went through so many bad quarterbacks. As good as their defense was, in fact, it was great. You can't win when you don't have good quarterback play. And Tyrod Taylor, one of the best backup quarterbacks, if Rodgers couldn't play for 2 or 3 weeks, they certainly think he could hold down the fort.
Certainly a better position to be in than when they went out there with Zach Wilson, right? Or what was the backup from Green Bay who was Rodgers' buddy?
Boyle.
I can't even remember his name.
Yeah, Tim
there
Boyle.
you go. Yeah, Tim. So they're in a better situation than that. Cap, I do want to ask you, I know that you and I talked a little bit about the Steelers earlier on, this week, and we've talked about it a few times, and I doubt that anything much has changed from what you've heard, but I thought it was interesting today. They were asking Justin Fields about starting, and he's kind of campaigning for the job, which feels a little awkward. I'm not knocking him for it, but it now seems like you have a quarterback battle that goes beyond the team figuring it out. Russ, I'm sure, really wants this job, and Justin Fields vocally really wants this job. Does that make for a weird situation?
Well, Mike Tomlin, the head coach of the Steelers, Kevin, did say that Wilson will start this week. Fields will back him up. They're both going to play. The Steelers are one of the few teams that plays their starters. I mean, a lot. Now, what Tomlin did say, how long they play will depend on how the series are going. Look, they could play Wilson for 2 series and pull him. Now, I will tell you, I have a little bit more information. Based on what I've been told, it was less about Wilson. It was more about their offensive line. Broderick Jones did not play well, one of their tackles. But their offensive line did not protect Russell Wilson. And, look, the other thing is, they've got this receiver core. It's just Roman Wilson, unfortunately, is dealing with this ankle injury, which I'm told is going to take a little bit longer than I anticipated. In fact, I believe it's more of a high ankle sprain. When I talked about it a week and a half ago, it's a little worse than I was told. So that could take a little bit longer. And they need him. He's going to be one of their top 3 receivers. You can't rush a guy back from a high ankle. and they just don't have the depth. Van Jefferson, by the way, has been phenomenal, the former second-round pick for the Rams. He's been a big story for them, but they're still not good enough at receiver. So they may address that before the season starts. But overall, their offensive line, I know they're excited about. Fatano, by the way, has come back from a knee injury. He won't be ready to the week 1. He didn't play in this game. He was going to be the right tackle, so that does matter. But overall, their line has not played well this preseason. That's a fact.
And right now, the Brandon Ayuk situation, from the outside, it seems like it's leaning Niners. Are you getting the same vibe off of it?
Yeah, look, they both sides have worked hard. The agent Ryan Williams and the Niners worked hard at this. They're pushing closer to the finish line. It's not done yet. See, here's the one thing, and I know he's been there, so at least he could work out in their building. Kevin, football shape is not the same as physical shape. Physical shape is not the problem. It's timing to get your rhythm back. And when you're not working for 6 weeks, that's a problem. And Ricky Pearsall, their first round pick, he's had 2 injuries to deal with. You worry about that. So that does concern me. Remember Trent Williams, by the way, with this holdout, that they're still trying to get that done by the start of the season. They will, but they got to figure that out. Mm-hmm. So the Niners have some contractual issues right now.
Yeah, it's not gonna. It's tough to stay at that level. We know that in the National Football League. Cap, we appreciate it. Good luck out there on that grind. NFL season's right around the corner.
Thank you.
All right, great stuff there from Adam Kaplan. We're going to hit a break, come right back. We're live to you on SportsGrid on a Thursday night.
Hello everybody from Arlo White in the Live Broadcast Studio, and welcome to highlights of another excellent day's golf on Super Saturday in Greenbrier. Now, Live Golf history was made by this man, the high flyers Brendan Steele. This is his second shot at the par 5 17th. In it goes, the first albatross in league history, and it's Brendan Steele who is all smiles. Cam Smith teed off at 18 today. He made a par there, then proceeded to card a 27 over the front 9 holes to briefly take the lead. This is his third at 12. An eagle for Cam there, but he was overall level par through his last 8 holes and his 3 off the lead. Brooks Koepka is seeking a 5th Live Golf title. No other man has more than 3. A pair of 64s for Brooks. He's 12 under par. That was his birdie putt at 18. But today was all about Jon Rahm, who is hunting a second straight win in the Live Golf League after his first victory at the JCB in the UK, and he's also hunting down Wako Neiman for the overall title of Live Golf League champion for 2024. A remarkable round of 62 today for Jon Rahm. That was his second into 17. This is his tee shot at 18. And you wouldn't bet against Jon Rahm going back-to-back and taking a lead into the final regular season event in Chicago in 3 weeks' time, seeking a first prize of $18 million. And he rounded things off superbly with a birdie putt at the first. An 8 under par 62 today. Jon Rahm will take a 2-stroke lead into Championship Sunday. Ripper lead the team comp by 1.
Live on SportsGrid, Game Time Decisions. Just to let everybody know, again, apologies for my delay. Incredible stuff from Joe Madden holding it down. My action tonight, I'm not all over the place. Limited baseball board and just 2 NFL games. I like the Braves team total that we talked about with Joe Madden over the 3.5 at -120 juice. I think that's really, really fair juice in that game in what I think could be a blow-up spot for Chris Sanchez going for Philadelphia. And I am going to play the Kansas City Chiefs +2.5 here against the Chicago Bears. I know the Bears have steamrolled, especially in these last 2 preseason games. It's also the preseason. Like, I don't want to, the Bears are the greatest preseason team in NFL history. I'm not sure that's a real thing. What I know is real is last week Kansas City was laying almost double digits at home in a preseason game. They're now catching points here. I was willing to go with the 2.5. Let's get some other thoughts, though. We'll get them from George Kurtz. George, great to talk to you here on a Thursday. We've got a few interesting baseball games and 2 NFL games to hit here.
Yeah, so it's not a dead Thursday, right? We get the NFL preseason week 3 started here. And maybe more importantly, it'll be over after a couple of days here as we get ready for the regular season starting in about 2 weeks from tonight.
Yeah, let's start with the baseball, though, Georgia, because, one thing that just got underway is another Paul Skeens start. And, man, he had this unbelievable first half of his season. And I don't want to say that he's slipped because you see the numbers there. Those are still phenomenal, but he has become a little bit more human, right? 3 starts in the month of August, the ERA's a 4.15. Again, he's not a disaster, but he's not untouchable. What do you not only think about Paul Skeens going into the game tonight, but more importantly, big picture for the rest of this season?
Well, Pittsburgh's already told us, right, that they're going to monitor his workload. Now, I think they're being very careful to say that they're not going to shut him down. What they feel like in 2 weeks is anyone's guess here. But I think they're going to give him more rest between starts. Sort of the opposite of what like the White Sox are doing with Crochet, right? They're limiting his innings in game, where Skeens might have, he can go 6 innings, but he's going to pitch every 7 days here. It's really organizational philosophy, whatever you think is going to work. I still think this. Come September 10th, September 11th, pitchers like, what are we doing here? What's the point? Yes, it's Paul Skeens. Don't we want to get ready for next season? Skeens, Jock Jones, Keller. You get some offense in there. This is an interesting team, especially in that division, not the strongest of divisions here. As for tonight, he's not the same pitcher. You said slip is really the right word. People think it's a negative or a dirty word here. He was great. Now he's just really, 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 really good. Right? It's really what it's come down to. So, he slipped a little bit. Maybe, once again, teams have scouted him. They can see, they have a little better feel of what he's doing. He's still throwing the ball hard. I still would never take his under strikeout prop. And I don't think they're going to pull him at the 4 or 5 innings here. So I do want to take his over strikeout prop either. But if you don't, that's fine. Then don't take it at all. Just leave the strikeout prop all alone. Yeah,
the one thing that I'd said for a lot of people were like, they're going to eventually shut him down. For me, I felt like for somebody who had a 200-1 ticket, George, that ultimately is going to do nothing other than at one point feel like an amazing bet, I said I'm not worried about them shutting him down. I'm worried about him not staying in the Cy Young race because I did not believe they would shut him down if he was in the race. I think there's a very fair argument to be made. He's not in this race unless he tonight, maybe is the last chance, goes out there and goes 8 scoreless, 8 of 1-run baseball with double-digit Ks. I don't really think he's in the race. I think Sale has created a ton of separation, and Wheeler, due to having the head start and getting, to his level, I think Skeens right now, the gap is so big. If Pittsburgh felt like Skeens could win a Cy Young, they'd be lying to themselves. So that's probably why they'd be even more willing to shut him down.
I agree with you 1,000% here. I think word for word. I think the fact that Sale and Wheeler, Sale is an amazing story. Who thought this was coming? All right, nobody thought this was coming.
Yeah.
All right, Boston gave him up for Grissom, a guy who's not even playing. They had no idea that Chris Sale was going to be back to being Chris Sale. He's had a fantastic season. He's right now carrying this Braves team, right, with all of the injuries. So if they happen to get in the playoffs, I don't forget winning the division, but if they can just get in the playoffs, it'll likely be because of Chris Sale. To a lesser extent, Lopez as well. Schwellenbach's pitching well, but Sale has been the guy. So I think he gets all the pub here. I have a ticket on Zach Wheeler. I took that as soon as Strider went down. All right, I went Zach Wheeler, but I think Wheeler is second here. I think Skeens is third. But you make one point here. If Skeens goes off, what does he have? 8 starts maybe left, and he goes bananas for the next 8 starts, and that pub gets up there again, then maybe. But right now, no. I think he's going to end up finishing third behind those two. And if the counting numbers aren't the innings pitched, the strikeouts, they're just not going to be what Sale and Wheeler have.
You talk about the unpredictability that this Sale season has been, and I couldn't agree more. The one thing that I seem to be doing more than most, George, but maybe, I haven't talked to you about this, maybe you'll agree, is when we talk, I bring it up with a level of caution. Like, Chris Sale, what he's doing is unbelievable. So sometimes when people are doing unbelievable things, we go, well, that's not going to last. With Sale, because he has a history of being unbelievable, there's this comfortability that people have. But if you look at the last 5 seasons before this, I don't know if I fully believe that the Atlanta Braves should allow Chris Sale to keep pushing towards a Cy Young. I know it's hard to pull a guy back, but this has been an injury season like, few other, right, George, what they're going through here in Atlanta. We talk about schemes getting shut down, right? But in the totality of this baseball season, it will mean nothing. Atlanta pulling back on Sale could be necessary in order for Sale to be ready for the postseason. But obviously there's a push and pull there because their postseason seat isn't a guarantee.
Right, that's the problem. Well, if they were to do what you say here, let's just say, Sale skips a start here, skips a start there to ready him, right? They wouldn't shut him down, but to ready him. Do they make the postseason? I mean, how much depth can this team have? They're struggling as is. They're not hitting. It might be different if they had their hitters who could score 6 runs a game. Then you can afford to do it, but they just can't. They just can't. Because I think your point is very well taken. It would be a benefit. Remember back in the 90s when the Yankees and Red Sox would always sit their starters. There would be a phantom injury in July to get them healthier for the second half.
Yeah, I think it's going to be just one of those sneaky things to watch. George, you're going to stick around. We're going to hit some more of this baseball board here. NFL preseason, a lot of time with you on a Thursday.
Hello everybody from Arlo White in the Live Broadcast Studio, and welcome to highlights of another excellent day's golf on Super Saturday in Greenbrier. Now, Live Golf history was made by this man, the high flyers Brendan Steele. This is his second shot at the par 5 17th. In it goes, the first albatross in league history, and it's Brendan Steele who is all smiles. Cam Smith teed off at 18 today. He made a par there, then proceeded to card a 27 over the front 9 holes to briefly take the lead. This was his third at 12. An eagle for Cam there, but he was overall level par through his last 8 holes and his 3 off the lead. Brooks Koepka is seeking a 5th Live Golf title. No other man has more than 3. A pair of 64s for Brooks. He's 12 under par. That was his birdie putt at 18. But today was all about Jon Rahm, who is hunting a second straight win in the Live Golf League after his first victory at the JCB in the UK, and he's also hunting down Wako Niemann for the overall title of Live Golf League champion for 2024. A remarkable round of 62 today for Jon Rahm. That was his second into 17. This is his tee shot at 18. And you wouldn't bet against Jon Rahm going back-to-back and taking a lead into the final regular season event in Chicago in 3 weeks' time, seeking a first prize of $18 million. And he rounded things off superbly with a birdie putt at the first, an 8 under par 62 today. Jon Rahm will take a 2-stroke lead into Championship Sunday. Ripper lead the team comp by 1.
All right, we're back to right here. It's Game Time Decisions live on a Thursday night. We're with George Kurtz. George, let me ask you this 7 o'clock window of baseball that's coming up here. 3 games, Toronto, L.A., Baltimore, Houston, Philly, and Atlanta. We were talking a little Chris Sale. Are you involved with any of these 3 games tonight?
Yeah, I'm going to go on the Blue Jays here. Once again, we're talking a bad team in the Angels. I wanted to take the over, too, because it was even money here, and I did, but I made it a smaller play than I would like. You never know if the Angels are going to hit or not. Right, is it going to be a Nito night? Hope Taylor Ward here. So I got a small play on the over, bigger play on the Blue Jays.
Okay, It's an interesting spot, this Toronto team. You know, George, I was talking with someone the other day about kind of the deadline that was, and it's really more the deadline that wasn't. Do you feel that, I know we all are going to say, can you imagine how much it would have cost? But could you imagine if somebody acquired Vladdy Jr. at the All-Star break, what that would have done? Do you feel like there are teams like Baltimore, the Yankees, the Braves, the Padres maybe, who let opportunity go by not trying to make a monster swing at the deadline?
I think we're assuming that he was available, and I don't know if he was. All right, because we didn't hear his name really mentioned all that much. All the teams you mentioned are true. Maybe not so much the Orioles. They have a lot of young talent. As for the Orioles, I'm still upset that they didn't get another pitcher. How does Jack Flaherty get out of the American League East? How do the Yankees or Orioles not get Jack Flaherty and the Dodgers end up with him? I think that was a crime for both teams there. And the Orioles are eating it now. What? No Eflin, no Grayson Rodriguez. I mean, they're calling up anybody they can find in the minor leagues. And as great as their minor league system is, it's for hitters, not for pitchers here. Guerrero would have cost a small fortune. You know, he would have. And listen, I found it interesting. What was it? Maybe 2 months ago, when all of a sudden he said, "Oh yeah, I play for the Yankees." This is after he swore up and down he would never play for the New York Yankees. Right? But it's amazing when it comes to money, or maybe winning, or both. Yeah, I'll play for the Yankees here. I'll shave the beard.
Which I personally love from Vladdy. I think that's great for Vladdy. I think if you're a part of the Blue Jays, embrace the rivalry, and if you're potentially going to be traded to the Yankees, and just, you know, be open to being traded to the Yankees, I just think you look at Vladdy Jr., who's probably, George, post All-Star break, one of the 5 best hitters in the league, just kind of where he's at statistically. You know, who was the best hitter dealt at the deadline? Paul DeJong. I mean, Jazz Chisholm's 2 games in Philadelphia. So think about how impactful a Vladdy Jr., if he was playing at this level, would have been to a contending level team. I mean, that would have been so otherworldly. I think the same. I've been talking a lot about this. If somebody would have added Blake Snell, specifically Baltimore, I mean, I think you're making an argument for World Series favorites if the Orioles made that kind of move. They did nothing mostly. I'm 1,000. Once again, right on board with you here. I thought the Yankees made a big move with Chisholm, but they needed more. The Orioles, you added Eflin, but you needed more. You know, the Astros needed, you had Kikuchi, and they may be the favorite right now. If one of those teams would have made that big move, the Orioles, I thought, was silly for not going after the pitcher. They have the farm system to do it. Blake Snell was brought up. Jack Flaherty, I think it was another top starter too that we thought, and they didn't. They sort of thought, we have Eflin, we'll get Grayson Rodriguez. That's enough. But that's enough to get you in the playoffs, but you would have been the prohibitive favorite if you added one more top pitcher here, right? And now we're seeing all these injuries there. I mean, they're going to try and win games out slugging people, but they really haven't hit the same way here. The American League is a quagmire. I mean, we've been going back and forth trying to figure out the Yankees can beat anybody or lose to anybody on any given day. The Orioles seem to be the same way. No one takes the Central really all that seriously. My God, Kevin, is it the Houston Astros again? Anybody but them. Please, anybody but them. I mean, listen, I certainly agree with the sentiment of anybody but them, but I think what happens, and I don't blame you, right? Because the Yankees or the Orioles don't run away with it, we go, it's going to be Houston. But if we judge the Astros on the same scale we judge the Yankees and the Orioles, it's not going to be the Astros because they are just not as good as the Yankees and the Orioles. We know that. We've seen that. But when the playoffs begin, it's very funny. I talk a lot about that bye, right? In the NFL, the bye matters. And in baseball, it's been a detriment. Unless you're the Astros, who know how to, you're giving us rest and less games and home field? Of course we're going to win those games. Of course we're going to take advantage of that. And everybody else just trips all over themselves, right? So they have more pedigree than everybody else in this sport, arguably combined, right? But that is the selling point on them, and it's a fair one. But they don't. Again, today there's a reason that you've got minus 160 next to the Orioles. We're going to keep George Kurtz here. We're going to talk a little football with George live with you. It's Thursday night on Game Time Decisions.
Hello everybody from Arlo White in the Live Broadcast Studio, and welcome to highlights of another excellent day's golf on Super Saturday in Greenbrier. Now, Live Golf history was made by this man, the high flyers Brendan Steele. This is his second shot at the par 5 17th. In it goes, the first albatross in league history, and it's Brendan Steele who is all smiles. Cam Smith teed off at 18 today. He made a par there, then proceeded to card a 27 over the front 9 holes to briefly take the lead. This was his third at 12. An eagle for Cam there, but he was overall level par through his last 8 holes and his 3 off the lead. Brooks Koepka is seeking a 5th Live Golf title. No other man has more than 3. A pair of 64s for Brooks. He's 12 under par. That was his birdie putt at 18. But today was all about Jon Rahm, who is hunting a second straight win in the Live Golf League after his first victory at the JCB in the UK, and he's also hunting down Wako Niemann for the overall title of Live Golf League champion for 2024. A remarkable round of 62 today for Jon Rahm. That was his second into 17. This is his tee shot at 18. And you wouldn't bet against Jon Rahm going back-to-back and taking a lead into the final regular season event in Chicago in 3 weeks' time, seeking a first prize of $18 million. And he rounded things off superbly with a birdie putt at the first. An 8 under par 62 today. Jon Rahm will take a 2-stroke lead into Championship Sunday. Ripper lead the team comp by 1.
All right, live right here. It is Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. I'm joined right now by George Kurtz. We've gone through the baseball board a little bit here. Right now, Paul Skeens is out there on the mound against the Cincinnati Reds. A Cincinnati team, too. Might as well just quickly, George, we're going to talk some football. And there was points in time where this Reds team felt like they could be legitimately in the race. There was moments where Elly De La Cruz felt like he was going to be a very real MVP candidate. A lot of stuff is kind of come back to the pack, right? They certainly weren't buyers at the deadline here. You mentioned Pittsburgh, right? The outlook for next year. Who knows? A move or two, and they could be favorites in the Central. Do you feel any similarities for Cincinnati?
Well, if you could combine the teams, wouldn't we have to combine these two teams? Right, Cincinnati has the hitting. Pittsburgh's got the pitching. Cincinnati, Hunter Green, for what? 6-week period, looked like a true ace. And then he got hurt. So, I think he's a really good starter there. Abbott, Ladello, they need more. That's where I'm going. They need more pitching. I think they need to trade some of this infield depth. I think they should have done this before the season. Now, that being said, I bought into the Reds, Kevin. I have a ticket on them to win the Central Division. Not going to happen, but I thought they'd be a much better team. I thought they would pitch okay and hit their way in a weaker division there. Didn't work out that way. I have some hope, but I question, will they make the moves necessary? They need maybe not an SP1, but they need at least an SP2, and I don't know what they'll spend, what it's going to take to acquire that.
Yeah, I also think, and I know it's much easier said than done, but I do think they need Elly De La Cruz to be more than just exciting. I think Elly needs to, the batting average, it's 262. Look, he's 22 years old, right? But 280, it makes a big difference. Because if you get him on base a little bit more, all of a sudden then the steals, the scoring position, and everything kind of flows through there. It's a lot to put on Elly, right? But you look around this league, and as much as no one can do anything on their own, right? Helps to have a superstar, right? Gunnar Henderson took a leap. Bobby Witt, my God, is that guy here? We know the Dodgers have stars. The Yankees have 2 of them, and then nothing else around it. Everybody's favorite, right? But for the Cincinnati Reds, I think one of the tricks of next year, George, right? And it's going to be great because guys like yourself, deeply embedded into the fantasy community, will be trying to figure out, where do we draft Elly De La Cruz, right? I imagine after Judge, after Bobby, Is he a top 10 position player, though, going into fantasy baseball next season?
Yes, his stolen bases, he'll win you that category all by himself. So, yes, he's a massive player in fantasy.
Yeah, and we'll see. And again, he's on pace this season for probably roughly 75 stolen bases, give or take. That batting average can get up to 290. I know that's a big jump, but imagine. There was moments this year where sportsbooks were hanging. Would he steal 100 bases, right? I'll tell you this, because I was able to, hit a couple bets on this, George. He was plus 680 to steal 60 bases this season. He has 60 stolen bases right now, and it's August 22nd. So it gives you an idea of the way he was able to even blow through a lot of those expectations. To transition over to football, there are 2 games on the preseason board. It's week 3, which is supposed to line up as probably the worst preseason week. I don't know. They might all blend together at this point in the NFL kind of state of things. But are you looking to bet either one of the games tonight?
It's hard to ignore that through the first 32 preseason games, unders are 25-7. It's hard to ignore that. I understand. Once again, we have low totals tonight. Oh, it's not like they're not catching on too. 33.5, 31.5. I'm staring at it right now. I'm not betting over. Either I'm taking the under or I'm going to leave it alone tonight. But I think I'm going to go the unders in both. Once again, we're in the last weekend. No one wants to get hurt. I'm sure, some stars might play for a little bit, but no one's playing very long in this game. There's no point to it. Get in there, get out. Let's move on here. So I'm going to take the unders in both. Once again, these are not drastic plays here. I said because they're all lower. We were seeing a lot of 36, 37s last week, even 38, 39. This year, I said 33, 31. That 31 is like, damn. They want you to bet over. They really do want you to take the over in that game.
Yeah, it's a spot for me tonight. I'm just playing the Chiefs plus 2.5. That Bengals line's up to 7. These big favorites have not really paid off in preseason football. So, if you just want to take plus 250 on a home team to win a preseason game, isn't terrible. Now, the Colts are going to supposedly play starters, and Cincinnati's quarterback preseason situation is dire, right? But it's also the preseason. Like, it's, you never kind of know what's going to happen there. Let me try and tap in a little bit, George, on this Chicago Bears team that's going tonight. And again, the preseason dominance is fun, but we head into this season, and I actually want to start with the fantasy end of it here. Where are you on these weapons? Because there are a lot of guys, right? But I don't know if any of them are being entrusted in the fantasy community, which relates to prop bets season long, certainly, and week to week, who people are trusting to be elite at their spot. Where are you on the Bears?
I think the Bears are definitely an improved team. I think they're heading in the right direction. I do believe that Caleb Williams is the guy. I think they finally got that right. I mean, most of us know the stat by now, which I just still find incredible, that the Chicago Bears have never had a 4,000-plus yard passer. And that just blows my mind in today's NFL. But then again, who's the most prolific Bears passer that we can think of? Jim McMahon? It wasn't like he was throwing the ball up and down the field. That was a defense and a running team there. So Caleb we do think is going to be that guy. Fantasy-wise, though, he's a quarterback, too. Not a one here. People prefer, in fantasy land, Jaden Daniels over Caleb Williams pretty easily. Once again, he's being drafted as a quarterback one. People are buying in that Daniels going to hit the ground running and do some damage. The running game, there's nothing great to speak of there. It's a work in progress running back twos here. The receivers are interesting, right? Keenan Allen, but because we don't know, is Williams going to hit the ground running and be a throwing team here? So they're being cautious, more of a wide receiver too. We all think the rookie is going to be great, don't they? But wide receiver 3 flex, you're hoping there. Remember, all rookie wide receivers, this goes for all of them, by the way. Neighbors, Harrison. You got to learn the route tree. You got to get the confidence of the quarterback. Got to get the chemistry of the quarterback. It can take a little bit here. And we all know it. Throwing in Chicago, another reason why they don't ever have a 4,000-yard passer, throwing there in November, December, not easy. So to answer your question, no number ones. The tight end, Cole Kmet, is not even being drafted as a tight end 1. He's being drafted as a high tight end 2. So that's the way the Chicago Bears are running. But like I said, I think they're going to win right on there. Their win total is 8.5. I think they're just under that. But it's a good, improving team in a really strong division.
Yeah, again, the real football implications feel really good. The DeAndre Swift stuff's interesting to me. Just, I don't know. Everyone was super excited for him to get to Philly. Feels he should have a lot of opportunity, I would think, in Chicago. I don't know if they're going to want Caleb to throw 40 times a game. I think Swift could surprise people a little bit. Now, George, this has been a very peaceful, half hour or so we've spent to one another. So I could either ask you what's the latest on CD or about Judge hitting the 48th home run. You choose. Which one are you thinking more about right now?
Is Judge going to hit 63? Is he going to hit 63? Plays Colorado for 3 over the weekend, Washington 3 next week. Can he get to 51 after that and head into September only needing 10, 12 home runs? Can he?
Can I tell you, George, this is going to sound so silly. I don't, at the moment, even care about the home run thing. Every single time I look at his numbers, I cannot get over his batting average. I cannot believe he's hitting 334. And I'm starting to, and this is pure Yankee fandom, get annoyed at Bobby Witt Jr. I cannot believe Aaron Judge would have such an impressive league-wide triple crown if Bobby Witt Jr. wasn't the second best hitter in baseball. It has been an incredible year for both. George, thank you so much. We're right back. It's Game Time Decisions here with you on a Thursday night.
Hello everybody from Arlo White in the Live Broadcast Studio, and welcome to highlights of another excellent day's golf on Super Saturday in Greenbrier. Now, Live Golf history was made by this man, the high flyer's Brendan Steele. This is his second shot at the par 5 17th. In it goes, the first albatross in league history, and it's Brendan Steele who is all smiles. Cam Smith teed off at 18 today. He made a par there, then proceeded to card a 27 over the front 9 holes to briefly take the lead. This was his third at 12. An eagle for Cam there, but he was overall level par through his last 8 holes and his 3 off the lead. Brooks Koepka is seeking a 5th Live Golf title. No other man has more than 3. A pair of 64s for Brooks. He's 12 under par. That was his birdie putt at 18. But today was all about Jon Rahm, who is hunting a second straight win in the Live Golf League after his first victory at the JCB in the UK, and he's also hunting down Wako Neiman for the overall title of Live Golf League champion for 2024. A remarkable round of 62 today for Jon Rahm. That was his second into 17. This is his tee shot at 18. And you wouldn't bet against Jon Rahm going back-to-back and taking a lead into the final regular season event in Chicago in 3 weeks' time, seeking a first prize of $18 million. And he rounded things off superbly with a birdie putt at the first. An 8 under par 62 today. Jon Rahm will take a 2-stroke lead into Championship Sunday. Ripper lead the team comp by 1.
Back with you right here on SportsGrid's Game Time Decisions. We now have a baseball board with 4 games active on it. There's a late-night Mets game in San Diego against the Padres. Scoreless through 2 between Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. Paul Skeens is certainly dealing, man. 2 innings of 1-hit baseball and 4 strikeouts, 1 walk as well. 35 pitches, though, is too many if Skeens wants to make a real dent tonight. Because he's on pace to probably go 6, right? If that. So, got to reel that in a little bit if you're just trying to keep some hope alive. And then it's really, really early between Toronto, LA, all those other games. You did already see Yurfie come in, though, with the Phil scoring in that first inning against the Atlanta Braves. There was one thing for Major League Baseball today that came out, which was the Mariners made the decision to fire their manager. And for Seattle, this has obviously been a very odd season where they have been flawed the entire time, but they had been managing and getting help from a massively underachieving Rangers team and what was a struggling Astros team. The Astros have put it together. The Mariners have now lost 3 in a row in 2 out of their last 10 games, or 8 out of their last 10 games. They're 2-8 in that run. For the Mariners, though, as I said, their flaws were apparent all year long. They have scored the 4th fewest runs in Major League Baseball over the course of this full season. At the deadline, they tried to make it better by adding Justin Turner, Victor Robles, and most notably Randy Arozarena. It's not really worked. They have also seen Julio Rodriguez go down due to injury at one point in time. I know J-Rod has since come back. He's batting .222 in that stretch. No home runs. 1 RBI. And that is something that I talked about on our preview show for the Major League Baseball season. And I am not going to try and beat a dead horse. But we just had a conversation here with George Kurtz when we think about next season, the Cincinnati Reds. There's certainly areas they need to improve. But they also need internal improvement, notably from Elly De La Cruz. Because they need Elly De La Cruz to come into a season with clear-cut top 10 MVP odds, maybe a little bit better, right? Well, Julio Rodriguez came into this season with top 10 MVP odds. J-Rod came into this season with a lot of buzz around him. Yet, we look at J-Rod's first season with the Mariners, and it jumps off the page, right? No doubt. Batted .284, 28 home runs, 75 RBI. As a rookie, with his pedigree, the buzz was incredibly palpable. Then we looked at last season, and a lot of people, the full numbers don't tell the story, right? 32 home runs, 103 RBI, batted .275. Oh, but man, he heated up in the second half. He really, really, really did. Well, I don't, did he? Or did J-Rod put together one unbelievable, albeit, but one unbelievable month where he hit .375? I don't know. That kind of feels like what happened, right? I mean, if we're just being honest with ourselves. Julio Rodriguez was mentioned in the same exact breath entering this year as Bobby Witt Jr. Those were your breakout stars. Those were the future faces of Major League Baseball. They were going to become the best players in the American League. Well, Bobby's lived up to his end of the bargain. Bobby Witt Jr. is, from a position player's perspective, to make this not as complicated, clearly one of the 5 best guys in this league. Nobody would leave him outside of that. If it wasn't for Aaron Judge, Bobby Witt Jr. would be a runaway favorite to win the American League MVP. And quite frankly, if Bobby Witt was in the National League, he'd be the favorite over Shohei Ohtani, I think, to win MVP. Because then Ohtani would just lose too much ground because he's a DH compared to Bobby being one of the most valuable defensive players in the sport. And I am not going to assign Bobby Witt Jr. all of the credit for the Royals destroying a win total that I took under, being a 71-56 team that is 2 games back of the division lead, being a team that is at the moment right on track to be in the wild card. They're 3.5 up on Boston. For comparison, the Atlanta Braves are 1.5 up on the Mets. Again, it's not all Bobby's doing, but he certainly gets a lot of the credit. And I'm not even sure. I mean, look, if Bobby was batting .301, this team might not be a wild card team right now. They've needed Bobby to be excellent. It's not on J-Rod to fix this whole lineup. But if J-Rod was excellent, which is what he's supposed to be, the Mariners wouldn't have had to fire their manager. J-Rod isn't close to excellent. He's not close. Rank the 10 best hitters in the American League. If you put Julio Rodriguez's name in there, you would be lying to yourself. He's supposed to be one. He's not close. In order for the Mariners to get close, yes, the offense as a whole needs to get better. One of the clearly identifiable starting points of that is superstar Julio Rodriguez actually needs to be a superstar. It's only his third season, but when you're firing managers, it means the clock is ticking. It means the expectations are high. And J-Rod, along with this Mariners team, has not been able to meet those expectations. We'll be right back. We're live here. It's Thursday night on SportsGrid.
Hello everybody from Arlo White in the Live Broadcast Studio, and welcome to highlights of another excellent day's golf on Super Saturday in Greenbrier. Now, Live Golf history was made by this man, the high flyers Brendan Steele. This is his second shot at the par 5 17th. In it goes, the first albatross in league history, and it's Brendan Steele who is all smiles. Cam Smith teed off at 18 today. He made a par there, then proceeded to card a 27 over the front 9 holes to briefly take the lead. This was his third at 12. An eagle for Cam there, but he was overall level par through his last 8 holes and his 3 off the lead. Brooks Koepka is seeking a 5th Live Golf title. No other man has more than 3. A pair of 64s for Brooks. He's 12 under par. That was his birdie putt at 18. But today was all about Jon Rahm, who is hunting a second straight win in the Live Golf League after his first victory at the JCB in the UK, and he's also hunting down Wako Neiman for the overall title of Live Golf League champion for 2024. A remarkable round of 62 today for Jon Rahm. That was his second into 17. This is his tee shot at 18. And you wouldn't bet against Jon Rahm going back-to-back and taking a lead into the final regular season event in Chicago in 3 weeks' time, seeking a first prize of $18 million. And he rounded things off superbly with a birdie putt at the first. An 8 under par 62 today. Jon Rahm will take a 2-stroke lead into Championship Sunday. Ripper lead the team comp by 1.
All right, we're back with you right here. We're live on SportsGrid. It is game time decisions on a Thursday night. We're trying to get eyes on this live board right now, where the juice might be. And we do have one WNBA game out in the streets right now. The New York Liberty, once again, going up against the Dallas Wings. It is an early Dallas lead, 17-14 in that first quarter. A 10.5-point spread in favor of the Liberty. Sabrina Ionescu looking to miss her second consecutive game for New York. Again, still a big favorite here for the Liberty. They likely still get the job done. Satu Sabale has been incredible since returning for Dallas, and is going to certainly make this team more competitive. But at 6-21, it's certainly a lost season for the Dallas Wings. Since I brought up the WNBA, I have to bring up what is now going to, for the second or third time this year, become one of the most fascinating things to me about this WNBA season, which is the Vegas Aces underachieving out expectations, while Aja Wilson puts up maybe the best season an individual has ever put up. And how that, one, is true, and then how does that translate into title odds and MVP odds? Just for reference, the Vegas Aces have won the title in each of the last 2 seasons. In those 2 seasons, last year they lost 6 games. The prior season, they lost 10 games. In 2021, they only lost 8 games. 2020 was a shortened season. So the fact that, and obviously they didn't lose 10 games, this team is 17-10. It is by no means a terrible record, but it is the 5th best in the league, which for the Vegas Aces is a jarring thing. Vegas has already cashed win total under bets. They are, I think, the biggest underachievers in the league. That's something, right? And if you look right now at their odds to win the title, they are no longer the favorites, but the gap between the Liberty and the Aces is minimal, plus 135 to plus 190. Vegas to the Lynx. The Lynx are 7-1. The Sun are 9-1. The Storm, who have the same amount of losses and 1 extra win, are 12-1. The books are banking on Vegas being fine when the playoffs begin. But the sample size isn't fine. This isn't fluky. This team has come out of the All-Star break. Like, if the first half was going to be fluky, right, then all they have to, come out of the break and just march. First game, post-break, New York Liberty, who had already had to play a game. No worries. Liberty win by double digits in Vegas. All right, well, the Aces bounce back against the Sparks. Okay, they were 16-point favorites. They won by 16. The Sparks are terrible, but okay, fine. The next game is at home. It's 3 days later. Vegas has played one of the most favorable schedules in the league in terms of not back-to-back. They lose again by double digits at home to the Minnesota Lynx. They are massively underachieving their expectations. It's very hard to three-peat. It hasn't happened just basically since the league got underway. If memory serves, I think the Comets ripped off 4 in a row, and then the Sparks ripped off 3 in a row, and it hasn't happened since. So nobody is going to hold it, legacy-wise, unless you're a fool. But also no one probably going to do that anyway, because we really only still do that to, LeBron. No one's going to hold it against this Vegas team if they don't three-peat. But it remains fascinating that the best single season an individual has potentially ever had in this league's history is on a team that is underachieving by the biggest margin in the league. So it's odd. It's odd.
Hello everybody from Arlo White in the Live Broadcast Studio, and welcome to highlights of another excellent day's golf on Super Saturday in Greenbrier. Now, Live Golf history was made by this man, the high flyer's Brendan Steele. This is his second shot at the par 5 17th. In it goes, the first albatross in league history, and it's Brendan Steele who is all smiles. Cam Smith teed off at 18 today. He made a par there, then proceeded to card a 27 over the front 9 holes to briefly take the lead. This was his third at 12. An eagle for Cam there, but he was overall level par through his last 8 holes and his 3 off the lead. Brooks Koepka is seeking a 5th Live Golf title. No other man has more than 3. A pair of 64s for Brooks. He's 12 under par. That was his birdie putt at 18. But today was all about Jon Rahm, who is hunting a second straight win in the Live Golf League after his first victory at the JCB in the UK, and he's also hunting down Wako Neiman for the overall title of Live Golf League champion for 2024. A remarkable round of 62 today for Jon Rahm. That was his second into 17. This is his tee shot at 18. And you wouldn't bet against Jon Rahm going back-to-back and taking a lead into the final regular season event in Chicago in 3 weeks' time, seeking a first prize of $18 million. And he rounded things off superbly with a birdie putt at the first. An 8 under par 62 today. Jon Rahm will take a 2-stroke lead into Championship Sunday. Ripper lead the team comp by 1.
All right, live right here on SportsGrid. It is game time decisions. Mike Blewett stops by. Mike, great to see you. Live right here on a Thursday night on SportsGrid. How we feeling?
I feel great. We're just creeping ever so closely towards meaningful college football and NFL games. So let's get it on.
Let me ask you something, Mike, though, because you actually, I know we're going to talk a lot of NFL, but you have a very good grasp for these things, TV and all that stuff. Week 0. Which I know some people bash. I've defended. I don't mind it. It's a unique thing for college football. Mm-hmm. What I don't understand is if you're going to do week 0, how did we year over year cut the slate in nearly half and go from having, USC and Caleb Williams on the slate and Notre Dame to just Florida State? How did we – I just don't understand why they would do a week 0. All of the games aren't even on television. The Hawaii game is on, pay-per-view, I've heard.
Right. So this has been going on now, on and off, for 30 years. We're like, hey, let's do a kickoff classic. I got a better idea. We'll do an earlier kickoff classic and screw those other guys that came up with the kickoff classic idea. Been going on for a really long time. I remember I went to one, 1995, Meadowlands, my alma mater, coming off a really good season, played Ohio State. And let me tell you something. Eddie George put himself on the map that afternoon as they murdered Boston College and Terry Glenn as well. I remember as far back as that, they were doing kickoff classics. Then it was kind of done away with. Now it crept back in. I think to answer your question, though, specifically, Kev, I do think there is probably some level of trepidation for the higher profile teams as the season potentially gets longer. They have to get into a playoff. For them to start a week earlier in August and maybe have it be a challenging game, I don't know that they want to go into the season when they know they were going to be playing through mid-January if they have success.
And I think you're right, and that's why I just want to double preface. I am not looking for Oregon, Texas.
Right.
I'm looking for Oregon, Texas Baptist. USC played San Jose State last year. They were a 4-5 touchdown favorite.
Yep.
I'm fine with that. But That's something to sink our. And again, even if we don't get that, we had 7 games. Most of them were bad. But in a landscape of college football, too, Mike, and you know, this is how you and I do, right? We're going to get lost on this, but that's fine.
Sure.
In this landscape of college football where the G5 are worried about their positioning, right? Or even if you're the ACC or the Big 12, man, this is a great spot to grab a spot, to grab eyes. If you are Liberty, if you are Iowa State, if you are Memphis, I don't think that this would be, if you're Cal, I would love this standalone spot when we know how crowded and tough it is to get those spotlights during a college football season.
I agree with that theoretically. However, it does pose a real logistical challenge to find an opponent that also wants to play there. The teams that are in the P4 now, I guess we still call it P5 for now, but the power conference schools are not going to want to move their games up to play an out-of-conference opponent to give you an opportunity to beat them on national television. FSU Georgia Tech moving an ACC game all the way up. It's a nice standalone for them, particularly for FSU, to show that they've bounced back from their slight last year. But I think all the points you raise are really good ones. What I think, knowing the mechanics of media in the manner that I do, I think people would sometimes be surprised at the lack of available windows for teams and networks to fit games in. Obviously, a network would bend over at least somewhat backwards in order to do a college football game in week 0, which, by the way, it's okay to call it week 1. We can count from 1. We can just count up from there. I would just posit that as well, Kev. We can just start at week 1. We don't have to go to 0 or -1. We can just start at 1. Week 1's a light one, and then we go from there. But I think the lack of available windows for schools to schedule those really does pose an actual challenge.
Yeah, and again, I think that's all fair. I think I cannot believe the Hawaii game isn't on a channel. That is legitimately crazy. Because what if you offer up, I said that, again, this is about 100% not feasible. Mike, we'll air it. Me and you could jump on the call. I'm pretty sure we knocked that thing out of the park, Hawaii, Delaware State. You want to get some eyeballs on it, man?
I ripped off 3 play-by-play games earlier this year. I'm ready to go. Put me in Division 1. I'm ready.
What were you calling? Little prep cross?
I called National Public Safety Football League, FDNY Bravest, NYPD Finest, NYC Boldest.
There you go. There, all the heavy hitters were out there. Look, since we got lost on college football, I might as well just take the rest of the. Mike's going to be here with us up until the end of the show, so I might. The expanded playoff.
Mm-hmm.
What has that done for your interest level heading into this season? More, less, the same?
I'd say, look, I'm probably a bad example. I'd say it's about the same, only because I'm a rabid college football fan. I do think it could be really interesting if we have a couple of upsets, but I think you and I have probably discussed this a long time ago as well. What's funny is that the arguments that occurred last year, albeit last year being a very unique one, a 13-0 undefeated Florida State team getting shut out, some of those same arguments will occur whether it's teams 13-12 and 12, I'm 14, but I should have been 12. I think those same types of arguments will occur in the way that they occur with the college basketball bubble. After years of hearing the college basketball bubble arguments, it's like, hey, how about you not lose 14 games during the year, and then you'll get in. Stop complaining about it. Beat someone good, Penn State, maybe beat Ohio State and Michigan, and you won't have to complain about being further down the rankings. Just for example, to all you Nittany Lion fans out there, love you, but you're going to be the example for most of the year by a lot of people that are talking like me.
I will say, Penn State, not only with the open slots, but then also just not having to play Michigan this year.
Yeah.
Pretty sweet. Pretty sweet.
Guys, we're a lock. Always been a playoff team.
Yeah, we last 2 seasons in the regular season, 20-0 when they don't play Ohio State or Michigan. 0-4 when they play Ohio State or Michigan. They also don't play Oregon. So
right. Also,
it worked out nicely.
Also 0-1 when they play Michigan and the Michigan quarterback doesn't throw passes in the second half.
I will say, Mike, just to give people a little bit of insight, and again, this Saturday, the College Football Today show will begin. We're going to go through our futures. One of the tricks, I'm glad I did this up against the break, otherwise Mike and I will have done an accidental 30 minutes on college football. Ranking the best coaches in college. I think I could make a pretty strong argument that Sharon Moore is one of the 10 best coaches in college football. And I think that's a big advantage for Michigan.
That is bold, considering the lack of experience he has. I would just call him an incomplete grade. I think it's okay to have a lot of confidence in him, but I don't think his resume can't match what the other guys in the top 10 would be right now.
Again, and that's for the break, and then we'll just do NFL when we get back. I'll say this. Sharon Moore has way more wins against top 5 teams than Dan Lanning. Nobody wants to talk about it. We'll be right back here on SportsGrid.
Hello everybody from Arlo White in the Live Broadcast Studio, and welcome to highlights of another excellent day's golf on Super Saturday in Greenbrier. Now, Live Golf history was made by this man, the high flyers Brendan Steele. This is his second shot at the par 5 17th. In it goes, the first albatross in league history, and it's Brendan Steele who is all smiles. Cam Smith teed off at 18 today. He made a par there, then proceeded to card a 27 over the front 9 holes to briefly take the lead. This is his third at 12. An eagle for Cam there, but he was overall level par through his last 8 holes and his 3 off the lead. Brooks Koepka is seeking a 5th Live Golf title. No other man has more than 3. A pair of 64s for Brooks. He's 12 under par. That was his birdie putt at 18. But today was all about Jon Rahm, who is hunting a second straight win in the Live Golf League after his first victory at the JCB in the UK, and he's also hunting down Wako Niemann for the overall title of Live Golf League champion for 2024. A remarkable round of 62 today for Jon Rahm. That was his second into 17. This is his tee shot at 18. And you wouldn't bet against Jon Rahm going back-to-back and taking a lead into the final regular season event in Chicago in 3 weeks' time, seeking a first prize of $18 million. And he rounded things off superbly with a birdie putt at the first, an 8 under par 62 today. Jon Rahm will take a 2-stroke lead into Championship Sunday. Ripper lead the team comp by 1.
All right, we're back to right here. It's Game Time Decisions. We're on SportsGrid. We're with Mike Blewett. We've got a baseball board right now that has a tie game in Atlanta, 1-1 between the Braves and the Phils, 2-0 early Toronto, and then scoreless right now in Baltimore, Houston, and Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. Paul Skeens update right now. 4 innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, 6 Ks, 62 pitches. So it's good stuff right now from Paul Skeens. We'll stick in Pittsburgh. We certainly got Mike Blewett to help us here. So here's the deal, Mike. The Russ Fields quarterback battle has been, for me, surprising. Maybe that's on me. But I just thought they were going to give Russ the job, and then we would spend a number of weeks wondering if they'll put Fields in as Russ inevitably struggles, because that's just unfortunately where he is in his career. Instead, they've kind of said they're willing to open it up, and now you have Justin Fields, and I'm not knocking him because why not, but it is a little odd, publicly campaigning for the job, which can only lead to an uncomfortable situation, I imagine, between that quarterback room. It just must, right? Because both guys are really vying for their NFL longevity in Fields and Russell Wilson. What do you make of all this?
Yeah, it's kind of messy. The upside of this, I guess, is that it is not at a great expense to the Steelers, right? They have massive amounts of cap room next year. I've been, as much as I like the Steelers roster overall, I've been skeptical of the level of success that they can have when we don't have a quarterback that we know to take the reins. I've been thinking for much of the offseason that based on the way Arthur Smith played it down in Atlanta, where he didn't have great quarterback play, he leaned a lot on Bijan Robinson, although somehow not near the goal line. Hopefully he can break that trend and give Najee Harris or some goal line touches. But I'm just really concerned at the way things look. Everybody is out there that is saying that preseason games don't matter. You're right. The score doesn't really matter, but the way the players are executing individually does matter. And I saw some disturbing things in the Buffalo game where Steelers have a 3rd and 1, 3rd and short. They don't call an easy run play, so I don't love the play call there. They get stuffed because they tried to roll out and pass. They take a sack. Then it goes to 4th and 3. Fields is running around, has to throw it up, incomplete. And it's those types of execution on the offensive side of the ball that worries me no matter who has it. To your point about the dynamic, Kevin, I really do think that there are many people out there, right or wrong at the moment, because we don't have all the evidence, that feel like Russ is going to be and has been a distraction in other locker rooms. I don't think it's fair to say it now, but you're right. A 36-year-old I think he's desperate. He doesn't want to lose this job because he's not sure if he'll ever get one back. This might be his last, frankly, it might be both of their last shots to be any kind of viable starter in this league. Not everybody has the opportunity that Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold have had, to be honest.
No, and the reality is it's then your last chance at big money. Because at the end of the day, if one of these guys pops, there's big money on the board. Justin Fields can stick around as a backup, right? I mean, Josh Johnson's still in this league somehow. I mean, I make heads or tails of that.
Minshew, Minshew's pulling down $25 million over 2 years, Kevin. That's retirement money for everybody.
Quite frankly, the takeaway from that quarterback battle is they should trade for Trey Lance and give him a chance to start. Of all the guys you could have said to me, that's a tough one. I don't think that's going to happen. Trey Lance did outplay both Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell in a Cowboys-Raiders game this preseason.
It's fair.
Fair.
I don't know how long that will go, but we have a tough situation in Pittsburgh, especially considering they have to get off to a good start. We have talked about their last 8 games ad nauseum. They play all 6 divisional opponents, all 3 of whom are playoff teams, and the Eagles and the Chiefs on Christmas. So they're going to play Washington and mid to late November. And then after that, after Thanksgiving, they are going to have to scratch and claw to win these games. Now, they did beat Baltimore twice last year, but the Steelers were incredible in one-score games. I think 9-2 last year in one-score games. So that doesn't generally repeat itself year over year. As good as they are in these scenarios, it just doesn't repeat itself year over year. You get some bad luck along the way.
It's not supposed to. It is very much not. Look, that is where, man, Mike Tomlin is one of the most fascinating coaches in this league. You would know better than me, but I think, 7 years since he's won a playoff game? Is it?
Yeah.
How many coaches go 7 years without a playoff win and keep their job? Not many.
No.
Now, But I'm not telling you they should fire Tomlin. We all know he would be hired immediately. I do wonder, and this year probably we'll have that conversation more, if there are situations at times where it's just better for both sides to go away. Maybe that's me being too caught up in how ultimately the Andy Reid Eagles split did work out for both. I know Chiefs fans will probably worked out way better for us. Sure. But the Eagles won the Super Bowl before Andy Reid did. They went back to a Super Bowl. The Eagles have been fine. And obviously Andy linked up with Mahomes, and that's been incredible. I don't know if that's realistic, but I know Tomlin's young enough to reset somewhere, Mike, if it came to it.
True. And let's just say, hypothetically, this was the final year of all of it. There are two really attractive coaching candidates out there, one of whom was drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers in Mike Vrabel. So I'm not speculating more than that. I'm older than I like to admit, and the Steelers have changed coaches twice in my lifetime, just 2 times. We've had way more popes than Steelers coaching changes, for example. So I can't expect change when it rarely happens. Way more
great
popes.
Poll. You love this. Look, someone says preseason tonight, not Mike Blewett. This guy is in midseason form, a Pope call out. That's great stuff. We're going to close it out with Mike Blewett right after this break. Man, that's so good.
Hello everybody from Arlo White in the Live Broadcast Studio, and welcome to highlights of another excellent day's golf on Super Saturday in Greenbrier. Now, Live Golf history was made by this man, the high flyers Brendan Steele. This is his second shot at the par 5 17th. In it goes, the first albatross in league history, and it's Brendan Steele who is all smiles. Cam Smith teed off at 18 today. He made a par there, then proceeded to card a 27 over the front 9 holes to briefly take the lead. This is his third at 12. An eagle for Cam there, but he was overall level par through his last 8 holes and his 3 off the lead. Brooks Koepka is seeking a 5th Live Golf title. No other man has more than 3. A pair of 64s for Brooks. He's 12 under par. That was his birdie putt at 18. But today was all about Jon Rahm, who is hunting a second straight win in the Live Golf League after his first victory at the JCB in the UK, and he's also hunting down Wako Niemann for the overall title of Live Golf League champion for 2024. A remarkable round of 62 today for Jon Rahm. That was his second into 17. This is his tee shot at 18. And you wouldn't bet against Jon Rahm going back-to-back and taking a lead into the final regular season event in Chicago in 3 weeks' time, seeking a first prize of $18 million. And he rounded things off superbly with a birdie putt at the first, an 8 under par 62 today. Jon Rahm will take a 2-stroke lead into Championship Sunday. Ripper lead the team comp by 1.
All right, we're back with you right here. We're with Mike Blewett. We're live on a Thursday night. 2 preseason games tonight, Mike. I'm going to get involved with the Chiefs plus 2.5. Any interest for you? Kansas City catching 2.5 at home against the Chicago Bears, total 31.5. Cincinnati at home, a 6.5-point underdog to the Indianapolis Colts, total down now to 33.5.
I think the concern, obviously, is that the Chiefs are not going to play anybody. So how do you like the Chiefs' backups? What does Chicago really show tonight? I wouldn't get anywhere near Cincinnati laying the Colts laying a touchdown. I don't love that. I could ride with you on the Chiefs. I see where you're coming from. Maybe they want to end it on a good note. I think Andy Reid is. I mean, Mahomes threw 14 passes last week. He laid it out there for week 2 of the preseason. Everybody's going to sit tonight, so I'm concerned either way.
Yeah, that's kind of the nature of preseason football, and look, that's you know what you're getting into when you're getting into it. Mike, as far as kind of the NFL goes, we did have a trade today where Jahan Dotson ended up with the Philadelphia Eagles. I think it's a nice move. At the end of the day, they're asking a very recent first-round pick to be the 4th or 5th leading target man on this roster, where I think A.J., Devonta Smith, and actually Saquon Barkley will comfortably be expected to catch the football more than Jahan Dotson. Or maybe I should say touches, right? Certainly then Saquon by a lot. Where are you on this Philadelphia offense? Not just from trusting it, but is there a certain player on the offense that you think is going to have a huge season compared to the rest of the group?
That's tough to say, only because I have enormous respect for really all of their skilled players. Dallas Goedert was banged up a bunch last year. I think he's somebody to look out for. Like, the numbers could elevate. I think we've seen A.J. Brown really sort of take control of the room and wanting to be the A1 target during these games. A thing I hate about that, and not that AJ's wrong, but it somewhat dismisses Devontae Smith. You and I both love Smitty, think he's incredibly talented. So for him to have to take a back seat is sometimes worrisome. I think Eagles are going to win this division. I think my concern about the Eagles is some of the off-field stuff. A lot of the Sirianni, Hurts chatter bugs me a little bit. Beyond that, though, I do not know with certainty whether or not Kellen Moore's style of offense and Vic Fangio's style of defense mesh in the way that you need it to for them to be ultra successful. I don't have doubts about them being successful in winning this division. I think they're way better than the Giants and Commanders. And for the second year in a row, I think the Cowboys have done very little to improve their team. So, yes, the Eagles had a bad collapse last year. I just think they're the more talented team with the deepest roster and the best players in this division by a pretty significant margin now.
Yeah, I think one of the tricky things, and look, it all just depends kind of where your focus is, but I really think the props on Philly is going to be really tricky. And again, you can see within fantasy football and stuff. My read, though, is Saquon is a very real offensive player of the year candidate.
I think that's fair.
And I might be way off here, Mike, and it's going to make a difference on the. And look, we're going to find out early. I think Hurts might concede a healthy amount of the touchdowns to Saquon, and that makes a huge difference.
I actually tend now the 4th and 1, the tush push, the brotherly shove, whatever you choose to call it, I think is a real ace in their back pocket. I think they should utilize that whenever they can. But what you're talking about is some of these maybe 1st and goal from the 2. We don't have to make Jalen push the ball in on that. We have a very capable, arguably the second most talented running back in the entire league. He's a viable candidate for many touchdowns. I agree. There's only so many balls to go around. I think Saquon should be utilized as best that they can do. There's no reason to use him sparingly on this team.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting season, no doubt. Mike Blewett's going to be with us, covering it the entire way. Mike, we appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the Thursday and enjoy that incredible Week 0 slate, or Week 1 if you must.
Big Pope guy here. Can't wait to see you next time.
2 things about Mike Blewett: Boston College and the Popes. You need an expert. You call up Mike Blewett, man. Let's get that Chiefs plus 2.5 tonight. I'll see you Saturday. See ya.